Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. With this series, I'd like to talk to you guys about fractals individually, quickly, and at their easiest level. For those of you guys out there who are looking to do fractals at the master level, I'll be leaving links into the description of each of these videos from a YouTuber named DeRoyer, who has made some fantastic and very detailed guides on the hardest version or the master tier fractals of the Mist. So whether you came here looking for a higher level guide or you play through this guide and want to know what it's like at some of the higher levels, you were pretty much covered. At the start of this fractal, once your party's ready, head down the corridor until you reach your first group of enemies. These enemies are Aetherblade veterans with one champion mob in the middle. While none of these enemies are particularly difficult or threatening, it's still a good idea to use CC on that champion so that you can get an easy clear. With those enemies now out of the way, you can head over to the red cog symbol, and this is actually a button that'll teleport you into the next room. Once any one member of your party interacts with this, all of you will be teleported, so make sure your party is ready. In the next room, you'll see Mai Trin and Horik having a conversation, and these are actually the first and final bosses for this fractal. You'll have to wait through this conversation before the fight will actually start, which is good because we need to go over a few things real quick. Firstly, Mai Trin is going to start the fight with 10 stacks of a buff called Captain's Shield. This buff prevents nearly all incoming damage, so you'll be spending your fight working with your party in order to remove those stacks. Throughout the course of the fight, you'll notice some icons above players' heads, and this is in relation to either Horik or Mai Trin, depending on the symbol. If you should see a purple diamond, that's a good indication that Mai Trin is going to focus on that player. Players with this symbol can move anywhere they want, and Mai Trin will follow. Similarly, you may see a purple orb symbol above your head, and this is actually in relation to one of Horik's attacks. In addition to his usual AoE barrage, he will sometimes select a player with the purple orb symbol, and this is a good indication that Horik's going to fire his electrostatic attack on the ground wherever that player is standing. Players with either one of these purple symbols should stand as close to one another as humanly possible to ensure that Mai Trin will end up in that electrostatic attack. This because it's only while Mai Trin is standing in that electrostatic field that she'll lose those stacks of Captain's Shield. With this in mind, we can now return to the fight itself. As soon as Mai Trin and Horik's conversation is over, you'll start noticing those icons above you and your party's heads. Players with either one of the purple icons above their head should group up to ensure that Mai Trin ends up in that electrostatic field. If at any point your party is struggling to keep Mai Trin still long enough to have her land up in that field, be sure to break her break bar as she'll be stunned and stand in place. Additionally, even if you don't have one of the purple markers above your head, it's a good idea to stay close with your group the entire fight. This because Mai Trin has a tendency to shadow step to the farthest player from her, making it harder to keep her in that field. While the goal here is to make sure that Mai Trin stands in the electrostatic field long enough to lose all 10 stacks of Captain's Shield, it should also be noted that if you remove even just one of those stacks, she'll begin taking damage. With those stacks of Captain's Shield now gone, you should focus on damaging Mai Trin until she reaches 75% of her health. At 75%, Mai will disappear, and it's now time to take on Horik, who had been previously shielded from incoming damage. Just like with Mai Trin, we need to take Horik down to 75% of his health. Also, while fighting Horik, several Aetherblade enemies will appear, and it's a good idea to take these out so that they don't fill up the room as the fight progresses. With Horik at 75% of his health, he'll again shield himself, and Mai Trin will return to the fight. Just like the first time you fought her, she's now got 10 stacks of Captain's Shield, so you'll need to repeat that process all over again. For the rest of this fight, you just need to focus on keeping those stacks of Captain's Shield off of Mai Trin so you can do some damage. Every 25% of her health, she'll disappear, and it's time to do the same thing to Horik. Make sure that you're taking out any Aetherblade enemies as they come in, and simply repeat this process until eventually you reach a portion of the fight where Horik is at or less than 25% of his health. With Horik's health this low, Mai Trin will no longer be able to gain stacks of Captain's Shield, and you can either just damage her outright, focus on any lingering Aetherblade enemies, or you can actually just take Horik out if you're tired of dealing with his AoEs. And I say his AoEs because the AoEs that scatter across the room will persist whether he's alive or not. If I had any additional advice for this encounter, it's just to stay with your group as often as humanly possible. You will have to dodge several AoEs, but it's a good idea to stand as close as you can to ensure that Mai Trin will aggro into that electrostatic field. Also, while you do want Mai in that field as often as humanly possible, be careful not to get too close yourself, as that field will damage you as well. Also, in addition to both of the purple markers that'll appear above players' heads, you'll sometimes see a yellow marker. This is actually just Horik's single target bomb AoE. Players with this indicator above their head should probably move away from their teammates, but then immediately regroup, especially if you still need to remove any stacks of Captain's Shield. Depleting the final 25% of Mai's health bar will complete this fight, as well as the Captain Mai Trin boss fractal. To anyone out there who is struggling with this fractal, or maybe just wanted to know what some of those icons actually meant, I hope you found this helpful. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.